All right, Kayla, I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you want to get us this recording, then.
Yeah, go right ahead, JP. We're kicked off. I will say real quick, just so everyone knows, during this session, JP will be speaking, but we're also open to answering questions. So please submit any questions you might have in the Q&A toolbar at the bottom of your screen there. And if you have any chats, you can also send those our way too.
Yep. So please ask questions as we go along. I'll take a Q&A session at the end here. I'm also going to try to keep this as quick as possible. I mean, a lot of times you come to these things and people drone on for like an hour or so. So we're going to go through this pretty quickly, but you have my contact information. Feel free to follow up with questions, and let's try to have some fun with this too as we do this. So quick introductions. I'm JP Wiggins. I run corporate development here at 3G TMS. I'm basically a TMS person, have been one my entire career. And, we've started 3G TMS back in 2013. And since then, it's been a great ride. And before that, I was at SAP and Descartes Systems and a company called Glog, which is Oracle Transportation Management. And even back before that, I was at other TMS companies. So I've been in transportation technology my entire career. And I gotta say, I just love this stuff. I mean, it's a fascinating times that we're living in right now. And that's really the purpose of what today's meeting is, never before in my career have I seen how rapid the technology is changing. And let me put out, and that's the title for today, is Navigating the Rapid and Changing World of Logistics Technology. Got a quick agenda here, which I'm going to, try to stick to as best as possible, but I always go off track. So quick commercial on 3G. Obviously, we're here to sell, give you a commercial on who we are and what 3G is. But then let's dive right into what are really the changing factors that are changing technology today. And then let's go into some of the new technologies. And as a user of these technologies, how do you chart a path through it? Then how can like a TMS can help you? How can they help you stay flexible? And I'm going to show a little software here today too. I got a quick pre-recorded demo that's really cool that helps make some of my points. And then we'll talk about how to with all this technology, how do you maintain a budget? So with that, like I said, ask questions as we go through this. And like I said, I'll hit the questions at the end during the Q&A sessions itself. So with that, the quick commercial on 3G is obviously we are a transportation management software company. All right. And that's really what you need to know is we're not a service. We write software. We provide SaaS. A couple of our key differentiators is that everything we have is in one platform. We have one piece of basic software. So we're not really built up from a lot of different systems. And you'll even see that when we're demoing is that it's one platform for all operations. And then the other one is that we prove ourselves to be a partner. And that's a key thing in this such dynamic and flexible world right now is that our customers are not just customers, but we are partners, much like when your customers are, they are your partners, you get a better relationship. That's what we focus on. And in fact, we walk away from a lot of business where we can't be that proven partner because we realize TMS is so hard. It's so complicated that if we can't have a partnership relationship, then we won't win. And that's why our software doesn't get replaced. And we end up having great reference clients itself. So with that, I think you guys know that we are a transportation management system. So, cloud-based, we're 100% cloud-based. It's all about driving data. It's about being that fully connected, tier one TMS, multimodal domestic transportation system itself. So with that, let's get into the actual presentation today. And I threw this slide together and it's like, what factors are really driving change today in the industry itself? So first off, I don't know how much you guys know this, but there's a lot of money coming into the space. Some have coined the term log tech. If you're familiar with finance and the PE firms, fintech used to be the big term going on for the past decade. But log tech is kind of its own industry right now. And we noticed the records I've seen from a few of the venture cap PE firms, there was more than $55 billion that literally came into logistics technology in 2020 itself. And then more importantly, there's like over $3 trillion of money that's looking to be invested, what they call dry powder. And since there's so much investment coming into the space, the investment is driving technology. You got to watch because it's going to create strange technology or it's going to create people trying to buy market demand and buy marketplace versus actually develop an R&D. But still, a lot of this money is ending up in true R&D as the technology comes forth. Other factors that are driving technology right now, we've seen this, massive swings in capacity, whether it's LTL or truckload or parcel, just the swings are just insane. But aside from that, everyone now is really to this point where you need a digital experience. And, if you remember, if anyone has ever gone to these presentations over the past, 7, 8 years, everyone's talked about the Amazon effect and how Amazon effect changed our industry. Well, that Amazon effect is minor compared to the COVID effect that we've seen in this past year and a half. And in reality, a lot of us have talked about this, but we've seen 5 years of IT evolution happen in this past 1 year. So it's been a feast or famine year for IT evolution. It's definitely been a feast year for IT evolution in just the past couple of months and years itself. And what do I mean by the types of things that people need? Well, process level integration is really what it comes down to. You have to be, if you're doing things in transportation now, you have to be totally in sync with the shipper ERP. So if you're the shipper, your transportation processes have to be totally in sync. If you're the 3PL or freight forwarder or 4PL, you still have to be in sync with your then customer's ERP itself. And I'm talking about automating, oops, looks like I misspelled a word there, I apologize. I'm talking about automating the entire shipment life cycle from the quote process or order process all the way through settlement. It has to be integrated, because that's one thing COVID taught us, is that you can't lose control of your freight. It's so hectic right now that it has to be digitally integrated into the rest of the shipper's ERP process. And if you know the business supply chain cycle processes that people are putting in place, we have the sophistication. Pretty much every shipper has the sophistication to handle these types of things. They can't let transportation be an outlier right now. And with that, I put this out there is, exciting times as technology is now really delivering on Agile promises. And this stuff is it's really insane. We've been promising things on the technology provider. I'm a technology provider, and we've been promising things for years now, but they're really now coming to fruition. Things that we always talked and dreamed about, and I'd even put some of the stuff out there, like continuous move and real-time load balancing and things like that were all dreams in the past. They're now there. They're now in reality. They're now in production. But more than that, it's you see some of the big advances that we've had in just APIs themselves. And while people always talked about EDIs and APIs, what's really happening is that the APIs themselves are now cheaper and easier, and people learning how to use them. And in our world, obviously, quoting and rating is important. I mean, 5 years ago, most of my clients on the LTL side, they wouldn't even consider using an API to get a rate for LTL. Now it's the norm. Even clients that have contract rates, we're going to use API rating for LTL. For parcel, that's another great one. We're going to 100% use rating for API, for parcel shipments, because that means I don't have to set up parcel rates within my own system. We trust the carriers well enough on their quote they're giving us. Additionally, since the quote is rate shopped on our side, it's automatically going to choose the best carrier and mode based on how the carriers provided that information. But the real thing is these APIs and the way that we're able to actually integrate back and forth from a technology perspective, it's allowing things to happen. Like the real-time visibility. That's probably the number one thing talked about in today's day and age, is being able to track things real time. If it's truckload, we're talking about receiving breadcrumb trails and geofencing, and then being able to use that data against your orders and notify customers. So it's not just the visibility, but it's then able to use that visibility as it ties back to the overall life cycle of the shipment itself. Other things, load boards and matching. You guys know what load boards are and how to match freight up, but just the ways we're able to utilize assets and capacity managements. I also think like how we're able to do onboarding solutions, and we see a lot of pricing AIs, and it's just there's so much technology coming at us. It's insane. It really is. It's as a TMS provider, I get talked to all these different vendors, and it gets to be a great process to just talk to people and see what they're coming up with itself. So, but with that said, is really how can a 3PL chart a path, or if you're a shipper, if you're a person, how are you going to chart your path through all of these changes? And I know I'm talking quickly here, but taking a pause is that, beware of what people tell you. And I use the term silicon snake oil, but it's kind of simple. Talk to your clients. And if you're a shipper and your clients are your internal customers, ask your customers what they want. All right, it's your internal departments. Maybe it's your buyers, or maybe it's your remote distribution centers. What do they need? All right. So I got to say, you focus on your business and your customers. All right. And that's first off is and this is how I end this slide, but let your business drive your technology selection. Don't go out and buy technology just because you think it's the coolest, newest thing that's out there. And here, as a software vendor, I can say this is that 75% of everything we see is really similar. I mean, everyone is moving trucks from point A to point B, but there's still this secret sauce that every company has, especially if you're some type of 3PL or you're some type of brokerage company. Is you have a differentiator that makes you special. Make sure you don't lose that differentiator in these processes. And we see that happen every once in a while. Is that someone finds this great new overall slick piece of software that they want to bring in, and they start bringing it in, but it actually hurts them because they lose what made them special to their customers. So I'm just going to say that again in simple terms is, chart a path to where your customers want you to be. And then also, as you're looking at people's technology, translate the technology into the benefit terms themselves. All right. So with that said, how can I'm a TMS provider, obviously 3G TMS, we provide TMS software. How can we help people stay flexible? And if you are 3PL, I'm going to argue that your TMS is the most important building block of your software. It is your rallying location. It is going to be your single source of truth. It's where you're going to have to incorporate all the other technologies that you're trying to bring into place. So it's your building block to help maintain a competitive advantage. And, the key is that you're going to have to find a TMS that has this integration abilities and make sure that it is able to work with the third-party technologies itself. And that's why I use the term rally, because, another way of looking at it, and I think I may even have this in a later slide, is if you're a 3PL, your TMS is actually like your shipper's ERP. It's your single source of truth. It's your billing, it's your system of record. And as long as the technology works with your TMS, then it's going to flow through the rest of your process, because you're going to use your TMS to bring together all sorts of different folks. You're going to bring together your vendors and carriers. You're going to bring together outside and third parties. You're going to bring together your customers and your ERP systems and warehouse management systems. And you're going to bring them together through your TMS. And a lot of times you're going to ask your TMS to translate. So like translate from warehouse speak to carrier speak, because carriers and warehouses look at shipments difference. ERPs look at orders. Carriers look at loads. A load may have multiple orders, or a load may be, or multiple orders may exist on a load, or multiple orders or multiple loads per order. The same within the warehouse where you have batch runs and picks. So you look to your TMS to translate, but if you think about it, it becomes a routing location so that you have advanced and where you're actually going to muster for our common purpose itself. All right, with that, I'll just give it a quick demonstration of using a TMS as a rallying location. And this is actually a recorded demo from Ron, who's heads up our product marketing here at 3G TMS. So let me get this going and then we'll continue.
In this demonstration, we're going to use the 3G transportation management software to assign a load to a carrier to keep customers happy, drive a very efficient process, and improve margins as you grow your business. We'll start the demo here on our load management workspace, where we can see all of the loads that need to be placed with carriers. One of the great features of 3G software is configurability of screens and processes to meet your specific business needs. So here you see we've configured tabs to track loads through their life cycle. For example, waiting for pickup, missed pickup, or missed delivery. We've got loads to move, so let's drill down on one and get started placing it. 3G configurability goes beyond screens to include process automations that work with an ecosystem of integrations to allow you to streamline and automate everything from order to tendered load. For example, we can post to load boards electronically or quickly check for trucks posted by carriers. We can even check for nearby loads that might make sense to combine or get a rate index with a click. In this demonstration, we're going to use our load cost history to leverage where we've been successful in the past to send out some new spot bid requests. My load cost search form pre-populates with detail from the load I'm working on. Origin zip, destination zip, weight, and other factors which I can adjust. So very easily I can see that 19 loads have been placed across 3 carriers that meet my criteria. Notice I can see summary information at the top, such as the average cost or the rate per mile, also at a detail level down at the carrier. We also can drill down on an individual carrier to look more closely at recent load history. Another great tool for fast decision making is the ability to look at the data graphically and then add in rate index data. This visual look lets me quickly see the minimum, average, and maximum rates for these carriers over time. I like the potential I see here, so I'm going to select all and issue a broadcast offer to all of them. All my defaults are available. I can make overrides if I wanted to, or I can just hit save to send the request. At this point, all the carriers get an email with the standard spot quote request form, and they can click it to go into the 3G carrier portal. Carriers see all the detail of the request. They can enter the amount they're going to bid, enter a reference number if they need it, and hit submit to respond back to this request. Back on the load management workspace, I can see all of the spot quote requests as they come in from the carriers, and I can take action on the best one. Looks like Timely has the best option, so I'm going to select that carrier and tender the load. So to recap the demonstration, we were able to take a load that needed to be sourced and use a variety of digital tools in 3G to find some of the best options. Once we identified a set of carriers we liked, we were able to instantly send a broadcast offer to all of them. We can see all the spot bids coming in, choose the best one, tender the load. By combining this high-speed process automation with 3G's rapid carrier onboarding, you can build a broad portfolio of carrier services and work with them in a very productive manner. Another benefit of this level of automation is it helps you consistently choose the most profitable and the most competitive carriers as you work to grow your business. Thank you for watching this demonstration of 3G's industry.
Okay, with that, there, I hope you guys, Caitlin, do you hear me again? Just making sure I'm back, right? I assume I am. So, but with that, did you guys see the routing location as we talked about, the integration of all the different technologies? You know what? You probably didn't. And that's by design. What you saw was one user experience. But let me break down some of the things that actually happened and some of the background processes. For example, there's a full distance engine that was kicking in. That's an easy one. There's geographic data is kicking in. There's mapping software. Well, we didn't actually show mapping, but full rating API. So we hit carriers APIs for rates. We also hit SMC3 for contract rates itself. There was an analytical engine that kicked in that pushed some analytical points. There was all tendering APIs. So not only broadcast tender, you saw that API. So we're doing electronic API to carriers as well as email, which is electronic email itself. There was integration with rate index software, DATS rate index software that actually kicked in itself. That formed also some of the basics for the analytical tools. There was load board posting and not load board postings, even though we couldn't demo load board posting because the load boards don't let us demo their software itself. But if you kind of see, that's just a simple example in a 3-minute experience of how literally there was like a whole group of different technologies that are coming together to form a simple experience. And that simple experience is to, let's find some loads and cover them for loads. Let's find some, let's cover some loads for freight itself. So that's what I kind of mean by rallying. And that's why you need your TMS to actually work as one with the technology you're selecting, because in today's day and age, you have to have your software working in concert with everything, otherwise you're going to be bouncing all around and you're going to have non-integrated software. And if you're integrating the entire business flow, it makes it very difficult if you don't have integrated pieces itself. So with that, I have one more little topic that I want to discuss today. And it's mainly, how to maximize an IT budget and make the right investments with your technology. And I say this because of the digital age that we're in right now. And you really need to look at yourself as a technology provider, not just as a technology solution. And in the 3PL world, this is really something that COVID is really fast forward. Technology is now table stakes. It's part of the solution criteria. And in fact, I see it time and time again that the technology is trumping even the price. So being out there, being the lowest cost transportation solution providers will still have a market, but the bigger market now is for people that can provide a good enough price, but has the better tech stack. So, if you're a 3PL, you got to look at your TMS as your technology provider. And that's why we always focus on being that partner. So it's your software, it's your system, it's your solution, but we'll help you. We'll help you with your secret sauce. And that's what I mean by saying being a partner, not just a vendor itself. And then as you do the selection, who knows where this world's going to evolve to? And that's why you have to be flexible, and you have to have self-service ability itself. So flexible means the ability to evolve your own business and make sure that it's configurable by you and your own people internally, not calling the vendor and saying, hey, I need a feature request added to your software. All right. We see this time and time again. And I know this from a lot of other folks in the industry, is even some of their business model is to undersell up front, give you a really cheap cost or licensing model up front, but they make it up post sale by having you buy so many services post sale. So that's something you really got to look at as the total cost when you're looking at these things here. And this is, like I always said, is that, for an LSP, TMS is your core ERP. It is your system of record itself. And that's kind of it. So like I said, I was hoping to get through this in about 20 minutes. I'm good at 23 minutes. Let me just give you a summary and we'll go over to some Q&A. From a summary perspective, obviously, technology is changing faster than ever. We are solving problems now that just, I would say 5 years, heck, I would say 2 years ago that they couldn't be solved. I would also encourage you, don't be confused on tech terms. Key in on the benefits. So translate tech terms into tech benefits and go forward from the benefits. It's very confusing. It's even very confusing for me when I look at a lot of the different offerings that are out there. It's like, what is the benefit? What is the benefit, and how is it going to help my customers? That's how I always translate these things. So I will also say, though, and this is so true, going digital is now table stakes. It's not even an argument anymore. It's just a question of how long can you stay in business if you're not automating the full shipment life cycle. It really is. So, and with that, I got to say, is let the business drive the technology, but don't let technology drive you. Like I said, avoid the silicon snail oil, and, don't forget your own secret sauce. So, focus on that core as your transportation mission is your single source of truth. So I know I talk quick, I apologize, but, I know people are busy, and, these things can get boring if you draw it out. With that ends the actual presentation part I have. Caitlin, I didn't know if there were some questions come through the chat. If you want to get us going,
JP.
like, now's your time. Put Q&A in there, and let's keep going.
Yeah, JP, we just we've got a couple questions in here. Here's one that just came through. How does this technology benefit brokers in the small size capacity? And could this tech be looked at as a disruptor for brokers?
Yeah, I would say yes, as a disruptor for brokers. We have designed this to be something that is competitive at the very low end of the brokerage market. So even a very small broker, but yet it's the same exact software where my $1 billion brokers are running. So it's something that can be installed in literally a week for something that's, a small dollar value that someone small can afford, but then grow as the company grows. So whether you want to grow into a 3PL, start doing managed transportation, maybe you want to start doing LTL, maybe you want to become a 4PL, or maybe you've got some other business model that you're trying to grow into, you never need to change software platforms. You just start using more features of 3G TMS. So that's the advantage of us, is that we've come out with, we call it our quick start brokerage offering. And it's something that's very simply gets installed. It's like one of those 1 week kind of things. And then you're using the software to do your base brokerage functions. And then it's able to grow with you as you grow your company.
Awesome. Thank you, JP. There's a couple more. If buying products from multiple vendors, how can I make sure that they're all working together?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it is something to watch out for in the industry. So if you're buying a product from vendor A and another product from vendor B, make sure that you totally understand the cost associated with this. We see this a lot when, like, some of our customers want to buy maybe some third-party networks or some other different things they're trying to integrate with us. Is make sure that you totally understand the cost and who's going to be responsible when things go wrong. So if there's an error in the process, you don't want your vendors pointing at each other. You want to have a list out, like, who do I talk to? Who's my one throat to choke for this type of error? And make sure the vendors understand each other at who's and how they're going to respond to your needs. So in summary, understand your total costs involved, and make sure you understand who's responsible in the event of, there's problems. I mean, this is software. There's chances are you're going to have problems.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Looks like we have one more right now. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to submit them. This last one, though, is What about using consultants to help with vendor selections?
You know, I go back and forth on that one. And the reason I bring that up is that I know that there's consultants out there. If they consult with you, they're going to only implement my software. Okay. So they're consultants who only implement one, like a TMS, or they implement one products, and they're not going to be agnostic in the vendor selection. So I'd say just be a little careful when you're dealing with a consultant to help you purchase software, that they will give you a truthful agnostic answer. It doesn't mean that they can't. So like, you go to Capgemini or some of the big firms. Yeah, they have a big practice installing Oracle TM. They should give you a pretty agnostic answer, but you don't know. You just want to make sure that you are getting an agnostic answer when you're having a consultant give you a vendor, helping you through a vendor selection process.
Awesome. We have one more coming through here. This is from a supply chain transportation perspective. It says, do you believe that we're through the worst effects of COVID?
Oh, great question. No. What we're seeing is that we're going to experience something completely different than what we experienced in the beginning. And that's maybe more of a personal opinion, but in the beginning days of COVID, there was massive shortages. But a lot of those were caused by hoarding. And then there was also shortages caused by a disruption in the supply chain. But right now, if you look at our international shipments, either are both exports of agricultural products, which have pretty much come to a complete standstill, as well as our imports from Asia. It's dead. It's dying. I mean, as of this morning, there was over 100 ships off the port of LA, and Shanghai is about the same. And then even if you get through the port, there's no warehousing space there to deconsol. So it's going to be a very interesting next 6 months. So we're going to see the need for, I always say there's going to be, your vendors are going to have to ship freight wherever they have it to wherever it's needed. And we're going to see a lot of ad hoc and dynamic moves. And then add on to the fact that there's the capacity crunch out right now. It's going to be a very strange times. I mean, this is interesting. A lot of carriers I talked to a few major carriers and major brokers just this week, and they're not interested in finding new customers. How's that for an answer? You got a major carrier that says, I don't want any more customers. I want less customers. I mean, that's a scenario we're in right now. They said, I can't service the customers I have right now. And if you're in this situation, it's going to be really weird what's going to happen. Not weird, but it's going to be different. It's going to be dynamic in how we find capacity and how we choose between modes. We watched FedEx, kick a bunch of customers out and then got beat up for it. But we've seen the USPS last week, parcel, USPS mail, their slowdown is happening. They just can't. I mean, what do they do? I mean, what do these companies do? Like LTL carriers are at capacity. What do you do when you're at capacity? When you can't just add more warehousing, like you can't add more terminals very quickly. I mean, it takes years to add terminals and build onto an LTL carrier's network. And that is assuming you can find drivers and trucks to move freight. So, we're going to be in for some challenging times. So with that, I think that's a great way to, kind of sum up the whole exciting times. Be wary. Like I had the Game of Thrones quote there, be cautious, winter is coming or whatever. So brace yourself, winter is coming, brace yourself, supply chain is coming. So, I mean, that's really where we're at. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. I mean, I love challenges, and it's kind of what wakes you up in the day. And we're going to be in for some challenging times, and, you got to think dynamic and out of the box. And that's what's going to be exciting for us all.
Absolutely. Well, JP, thank you for hosting the session today. Everyone, thank you for joining us. We will be sending out the recording after the session. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you.